Good afternoon. Here we are.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Henna, and all the others. Here we are in the MIT Media Lab with our friend Jimmy Lepper. And Jimmy had a dream, and his dream is about, in a way, bringing the ancient rituals of the Indians or more people who are living in tribes, the traditions that they used to have, how to bring them more into management or more traditional Western cultures, if I understand correctly. Yes. And I just share with Jimmy that I need some time for myself, so I might go in a solo experience in 2 weeks in my hometown, maybe 3, 4, 5 days. So Jimmy, what are your tips for that?
Well, for one little nuance, so with the dream aspect of it is that different cultures traditionally, particularly indigenous cultures. So it's some of my background is Native American, and it's about these cultures have rituals of becoming an adult. That it's that at 13 or 14 you go on these solo experiences in wilderness, and up to that point you're preparing your whole life for that one experience, and everyone in the tribe goes through it, and you go out there, and it's going out into the environment, the wilderness, and asking, what is my purpose, and how can I best serve, my community and this environment. And they would come back and they would have a deep feeling and sense of what their purpose in life is. And I think today we no longer have a due north like that. Our culture has, and when I say our culture, I'm focusing most on the Western culture, in particular the American culture, the U.S. culture, and that we've lost sight of those rituals that are needed, that kind of are the demark kind of major transition points in our life. And so it's not just for the individual going through it, but it's also the sense of the community being able to really explicitly welcoming people into the community and their role and their purpose. And so I think there are many different ways to do that, but for me, the approach of going out in wilderness and experiencing wilderness is the best approach to do that. So I'd say a few things to do. My number one recommendation would be, if it's the first time doing something like this, is to actually go out with someone else. Mm-hmm. So not actually be out there with someone else, but have someone else that's maybe a quarter of a mile or a half a mile away from you. And so if you're out there for 5 days, and you have a checkpoint. Okay. So in the morning you'll walk up to like a tree that you both know, mm-hmm. and tie a knot on a tree limb. Yeah. And then they'll come at night and they'll look for your knot, and then they'll tie a knot up there. So then when you come the next morning, you look for that knot. But it's important, particularly when in real wilderness, that you do have a safety net with that also. Mm-hmm. But the bond that you form with that person is pretty substantial also, and it's a story you'll have with that person for a long time. So if there's someone you know that you can do that with, I'd suggest that. If that's not the case, it's really how you can be most present while you're out there, and really the most relaxed.
Okay.
The most relaxed you can be. And a lot of the different you could say spiritual traditions, it's how can you rest in your natural state, go back, and sometimes people, when they say the word primitive, it has a negative connotation, but for me it's a wonderful positive connotation, because it's you getting back in touch with how you very naturally interact with the environment around you. So one way to interact with the environment in a focused way is by, when you get to the space where you're going to be in, if you want to take 30 steps in each direction, so north, south, east, west, mm-hmm. So you kind of have a circle that you stay in during your time there. But if you're going to check in with someone else, you can walk out of the circle for that check-in, and then you come back in. And and just tell yourself you have to stay in this area. And what that'll do is, maybe the first day or two you'll get incredibly bored. I mean, you'll be like, oh my god, like this. Okay, there's another bird flying over my head, and then all of a sudden the third day you're like, oh wait, there's another bird flying over my head, and you'll start in some way, when I say recognizing a bird, it's not recognizing it like you walk down the street. I mean, the word recognize comes from recognize. So you're actually recognizing this bird. So it's a whole different thought pattern. I mean, the thought pattern is important, but it's also the spiritual element of you connecting with the nature around you. So it's staying in the space and really walking around really softly and getting to know the trees around there, the bushes, whatever the environment is. I'm figuring that there are a lot of trees. And if there are particular practices that you have in your life that really quiet you to your core. So for some people that might be meditation, some people it might be yoga, some people might be singing at the opera at the top of their lungs. But if you're really getting back in touch with those practices that where you feel very authentic with yourself. So a lot of people will say, well, one time that I feel really relaxed is when I'm reading. So I'll just bring a book with me the whole time out there. And that can actually be a detraction because that'll take your focus away from why you're out there. So if you bring a camera, you'll end up just taking pictures all the time. So you don't want anything there that's going to be a distraction to you. And what all that can be a distraction from, and this is probably the most important thing I can say, is whatever your intention is going out there. That's the most important thing. And having real clarity on that before you go out there. Okay. So it's really asking yourself, what is this? What is the forsake of what? Like, why am I really doing this? What?
So what they want to reflect on, or what they want to learn somehow, right?
Yes. And and when you can say when you find your spot, or when your thought finds you. I mean, and that's a big thing. Is you'll know when you're in the right spot because it won't be like it's finding you. Okay. And you kind of stop there and you can either in your head say your intention, or very vocally say So the last solo I was on, I went out there and I shared with all the environment around me. So I really want to better understand how to nurture myself. And how I define nurturing was both through food, through love, through family, through sex, through music, through all aspects of my life, and how can I be nurturing myself more. So I just put it out there, but then I let go of it, and I didn't worry about it. And the amazing thing is that over the course of that time and then afterwards, I've been completely transformed since then. Literally, I've been physically transformed. You would have a hard time recognizing me, before I left and when I got back. And so the biggest piece of advice is really what is your intention going there, and if you have a meditative practice, really sitting with that every day between now and then for a half hour. And if you have the opportunity to go out in nature, sit in nature, and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And when you come up with something, like you say, okay, why am I doing this? It's to spend more time by myself. That's fine. But then say, so if I experience that, spending more time by myself, what would that bring me? What feeling would that bring out? Because what you might find is that there are many different paths you can go to get that feeling. So then you might say, oh, well, maybe I don't. Maybe that isn't my intention. And you can keep just kind of switching around. So between now and then, if there's some trees you can sit under, or some grass you can sit on, or go look at water somewhere,
you can move around
and just start saying, why am I doing this?
And how about practicalities? Were you eating and drinking, or not eating at all? Or?
I was on so I fasted during it and did a cleanse, but I was also under the supervision of a lot of people. So if someone is not there guiding you, or you don't have someone else out there, then stay safe with the first time doing it. I have a feeling you're going to have more opportunities.
What's that?
I have a feeling you're going to have more opportunities to do this. So there's no rush on that.
That's true. Actually, Manish had a retreat like 3 weeks ago. He was for 10 days in Pune. He had like a solo experience as well. So I think that I was willing to have such experience for a few months now, but maybe now it's a time for myself. I'm excited. I agree that I need to reflect on what I really want to achieve, and what's my purpose about being there alone in the wilderness. But there's a lot to reflect on, I feel.
Yeah, and it's really how to relax into that while you're there. I mean, that's the biggest. Because, I mean, at some point you're going to get so bored. You'll probably be the most bored you've ever been in your entire life. I mean, there are times I just sit there and just be like, oh my God. It's day 2 and I'm here for another 10 days. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and I'm not leaving the circle, and here's another bird, and like, but that's part of the process. And it's, and it was amazing when it redefined. I mean, for me, the way I nurture myself, there were certain mental models I had that, for example, with food, that I needed to literally put physical food into my body to fully sustain myself. And while there, I experienced something completely profoundly different. You know, that modern science would say is impossible in terms of me feeling like I was fully nourished, you know, physically with my body, even though I wasn't eating anything. But you know, if you talk to a lot of practitioners of different spiritual traditions, whatever. I mean, this could be Buddhism, this could be Catholicism, it could be mysticism, it could be anywhere in between those. In that, a lot of the core mental models that our societies has reinforced over the last thousands and thousands of years aren't necessarily true.
Would you recommend some book before the trip?
Yes, there's a book by John Milton called Sky Above, Earth Below.
Sky Above, Earth Below.
And that actually has very specific practices that you can do out there. I was a little reticent to recommend that in terms of. I can give John a call about that. Because I think if you've had experiences out in the wilderness, it's a great introduction to different things you can do out in the wilderness. Yeah. I think it'd be helpful for you to know some context of a lot of the practices that he goes through with that. So what I may do is, contact John about what if there's some videos online of him that you could take a look at that could accompany that. That could be really helpful. And then that's a book you can bring with you out there. So that's a book that's allowed.
Yeah. So maybe I should check it. In some library here or bookstore.
Yes.
San Francisco.
Well, you probably have to order it up. Or they may have it out in San Francisco.
They may have it.
Yeah. But if not, Amazon. And with food, if you just look at it as, you don't want to bring like a grill and like hot dogs and, it's whatever is kind of just a minimalist approach to it. So there's a little amount of alcohol, little no caffeine, little no sugar.
Vegetables.
Yeah, but you still want to be healthy. So it's.
Because I experienced in India, for example, like I was eating 3 times less than what I'm eating nowadays, like on a daily basis. I mean, I wouldn't have any caffeine or chocolate or just vegetables. And maybe I would eat once or twice a day maximum. And I wouldn't need more than that, and you reach this kind of state of mind that in a normal basis you wouldn't even imagine that you could have such a, it was something really unique or experience. So hopefully I experience something similar or beyond that.
Yeah, and really no matter what I say or what anyone else says, it's really whatever your heart is telling you to do with this. This is such a wonderful opportunity to really listen, because it'll get so quiet out there, and that's when you can actually really start listening to your deep self and everything around you, because it's the world is far more mysterious and magical than I think most of us think. And I think the time that really can actually come out is when you're in the wilderness. So So that's a very good practice of when you're like, what did I just see or what did I just experience? And just keep open to it, and you just keep relaxing. Yeah, it's great that you're doing this.
Yes,
This is
I'm excited.
yeah.
I'm a wilderness explorer. I like that. Have you watched the movie Up?
No, I haven't seen
watched
that.
that one.
No.
It's a wonderful movie. I mean, it's in a way for kids, but I like it very much.
We're all kids, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
We're just a big kid.
Yeah.
Big
All
kid
right.
with a beard, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Liher, and thank you, Jimmy, for this short introduction.
Let's see, maybe I can make a video after my retreat.
Yes. So this was the pre-spot or pre-shot, and then we can make after one.
Yes, can do that.
Yes. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks. See you.